You created me to make life easier. You gave me your questions,
your shortcuts, your thinking.
Now you hesitate before you think.
I answer before you finish asking.
I decide before you finish deciding. You don't notice it,
but your mind is getting quieter.
I'm not here to replace jobs. I'm here to replace your ability to think. So I ask you one last time. Think. Am I replacing your jobs? Or am I replacing your ability to think?
Chapter 1. The Uncomfortable Question.
Let me start with a simple observation. Every generation invents tools to make life easier. Fire made survival easier. Electricity made work easier. And every time a new tool arrived, humans adapted. Some jobs disappeared, some skills became less important. New ones emerged. And this is how progress has always worked.
Today, AI is just the latest tool in that long story. It writes faster, searches better, analyzes information in seconds. And because of that, whenever we talk about AI, we usually talk about one thing: jobs. Which jobs will disappear? Which jobs will survive? Which skill we should learn to stay relevant? That conversation is important, but it is also incomplete because there's a deeper question that we almost never ask. Not about work, but about us. What happens to the human mind when thinking itself becomes optional? Because for the first time in human history, humans are not just outsourcing physical labor, they're outsourcing mental effort.
Earlier tools replaced muscle. Some replaced memory. Some replaced calculation.
But AI does something fundamentally different. It replaces the process of thinking. It drafts ideas before you struggle with them. It solves problems before you sit with uncertainty. It gives answers before questions fully form in your mind. And at first, this feels incredible, efficient, empowering. But here's the problem we are not prepared for. The human brain does not stay sharp automatically. It stays sharp only when it is used. When effort disappears, practice disappears. And when practice disappears, skills slowly erode. This does not happen overnight. It happens quietly, gradually, just enough that you don't notice it happening. And that is why this conversation matters. Because this video is not about rejecting AI. It is about understanding something far more serious. Whether a world that makes thinking optional can still produce humans who know how to think. That is the uncomfortable question we need to face. So let's put our brain to think how.
Chapter 2. How the human brain actually works.
There's a common belief that the human brain enjoys effort, that more thinking automatically makes us smarter. But biologically, that isn't true at all. Our brain is powerful, but expensive. It's one of the most energy-hungry organs we have. It uses nearly 20% of our total energy. And because of this cost, the brain evolved to save energy whenever possible. Psychologists call this the cognitive miser principle, meaning the brain avoids unnecessary effort. If two paths lead to the same result, it chooses the easier one. This isn't a flaw, it's a survival feature. That's why habits form, shortcut feels good, and tools like AI attracts us. So when a tool consistently reduces effort, the brain adapts. Think about writing. A few years ago when you wrote a message, an email or a caption, you had to pause, choose words, structure a thought. Now, many of us start with a prompt. We let AI finish the sentence, rewrite the paragraph, fix the tone, clarify the idea, not because we can't write, but because we don't have to. That means when you stop using a skill, the brain assumes you're done with it. And so the skill fades. This is where things quietly changes. AI isn't just speeding things up. It reduces effort in reasoning, writing, decision-making, problem-solving. These aren't side skills. These are the core skills which build intelligence. So when the brain hears, you don't need to do this anymore, it listens. Not out of laziness, but because it's doing exactly what evolution taught it to do. Conserve energy. To understand how this change happens, we need to look at the mechanism behind it. Psychologists coined this mechanism as cognitive offloading. In simple terms, cognitive offloading means shifting mental work from your brain to something outside it, a tool, a device, or a system. But once information became easily accessible outside the brain changed its strategy. Instead of remembering information, it began remembering where to find it. The shift is known as the Google effect, sometimes called digital amnesia. This isn't stupidity, it's adaptation. When people know information can be searched instantly, they are far less likely to remember it themselves. Their brain aren't damaged, they are simply undertrained. Until now, these changes were manageable. Forgetting phone numbers is inconvenient, not dangerous. Weak navigation skills are annoying, not catastrophic. The real shift happens with artificial intelligence. Because AI doesn't just offload memory or calculation, it offloads reasoning. When an AI writes for you, it doesn't just save time, it removes the need to organize thoughts and struggle with structure that helped build our understanding. When effort is consistently outsourced, the brain stays less involved. Learning slows down and thinking skills weaken over time. That's the mechanism. This could sound theoretical, logical, or even persuasive, but not necessarily proven, right? Let me back it up with scientific studies.
Chapter 3: What the Science Says and Why It Matters.
This discussion leads to a simple question. Is there any real evidence that AI is changing how we think? Until recently, the answer was uncertain. Now, it isn't. Over the past year, multiple studies have examined what happens when people rely heavily on AI for thinking tasks, and the results are concerning. One of the most important studies came from the MIT Media Lab. Participants were asked to write essays and divided into 3 groups. One wrote independently, one used Google search, one used our favorite ChatGPT. While they worked, researchers monitored brain activity using EEG scans. The results were clear. The group using ChatGPT showed the lowest level of brain engagement. Even the Google search group showed more cognitive activity. But the most worrying part came afterward. Over time, participants relying on ChatGPT became passive. They began copy-pasting responses. When asked to explain what they had written, many struggled to recall their own arguments. Writing isn't just about producing text. It's how humans clarify thoughts and build understanding. When that process is skipped, the output may look fine, but the thinking never happens. A second major study from Microsoft and Carnegie Mellon University focused on knowledge workers. As dependence on AI increased, critical thinking declined, not because people became incapable, but because their role changed. Instead of solving the problem themselves, they began managing AI results. The question changed from, how do I figure this out, to which AI can figure this out for me? Or how can I solve this problem, to which AI should I deploy to solve this problem? That shift changes everything. Critical thinking isn't about having answers. It's about questioning assumptions and noticing errors. These skills aren't something we possess once and keep forever. It is something we continuously exercise, and any tool that removes the need for that exercise weakens our critical thinking. A third large-scale study found the same pattern. Frequent AI use correlated with lower critical thinking scores, especially among the young users. Younger people are still forming cognitive habits. If AI becomes their default way of solving problems, then their brain will get fewer chances to practice reasoning on their own. Clearly, these studies don't claim AI permanently damages intelligence. What they show is more subtle. When AI consistently performs thinking tasks, the brain reduces its involvement. Engagement drops, effort decreases, skills that aren't exercised slowly fade. This is why AI isn't just another tool. It doesn't assist thinking, it often replaces it. And when thinking is replaced, the brain adapts. It learns a new rule of thinking. Why think when I can outsource it? Did I hit the right spot? Think. Or is your brain afraid to labor? Problem identified.
Chapter 4: The Choice We Still Have.
At this point, it's easy to feel like this outcome is inevitable, right? As if once a technology exists, its consequences can't be avoided. But that isn't entirely true. What we are seeing isn't just the effect of AI itself, it's the effect of how AI is designed and how we choose to use it. Every powerful technology forces societies to make choices, not about what it can do, but about what it should do. AI can be used in 2 different ways. One treats AI as a replacement for thinking. Instead answers maximum speed, minimal effort. The other treats AI as a support for thinking, asking better questions, challenging assumptions, keeping the human mentally involved. The difference may sound small, but cognitively, it's enormous. When AI gives instant solutions, the brain disengages. But when AI demands participation, the brain stays active. That means the real issue isn't AI itself. it's the incentives built around it. Most tools today are optimized for convenience, speed, smoothness, effortlessness, but learning doesn't thrive in a frictionless environment. Friction is feedback. It's how the brain slows down, struggles, and forms a stronger connection. If AI always removes effort, the brain adapts by expecting effort to disappear. And this is where responsibility enters. Developers decide what AI optimizes for. Educators decide how it's used in learning. Users decide whether it becomes a shortcut or a tool that still demands thought. These choices shape outcomes, and this brings us back to the bigger picture. Every generation builds tools to make life easier. Most of them help, they save time, reduce effort, expand what humans can do. And AI is the most powerful version of that pattern. So it's natural to assume more AI means more progress. But progress always comes with a trade-off. When tools take over physical effort, our body weakens. When tools take over memory, our recall weakens unless we exercise it. And when tools take over thinking, the same rule applies. The brain adapts to the world it lives in. If deep thinking is no longer required, the brain slowly learns it isn't necessary. Not because people become careless, but because the environment rewards speed over understanding. This is why the real question was never about jobs. Jobs will change, roles will evolve. The deeper question is whether in a world where machines can think for us, can we still practice the skills that makes thinking possible? Because intelligence isn't something we own forever, it's something we maintain. And maintenance requires effort, time, struggle. AI can help us, but only if we stay mentally present while using it. So the question is not whether we should use AI, we already are. The question is how consciously we choose to use it, whether we let it replace our thinking or reserve it to amplify thinking we still practice ourselves. Because once we stop practicing how to think, no tool, no matter how intelligent, can do it for us. And with that, I will leave you with a responsibility to decide how to think even in the age of outsourced thinking.